Salve amiche, and today we're going to be taking a look at Vergil's third Eclogue, lines 7 through 11. But first, last time in this Eclogue, the first time in this Eclogue, is this text. If I can actually turn the page. And here we start with Demoitas replying to Menalcas's accusations, and then we get a very brief response in turn from Menalcas. But first I should remind you that this Eclogue, kind of like the last one, has some more adult elements to it, especially in the response we're about to read. But to our Latin, Parcius ista viris tamen objecienda objecienda. Always hard to tell when there's a J. And then messing up words is my thing, apparently. Memento. Novimus et qui te transversa tuentibus hirquis et quo, sed facalis nymphae risere sacello, tum credo cum me arbustum videre meconos atque mala vitis incidere falce novellas. And here is our rubric, everything we look for as we go through the text. Our very first word in Demoitas' response is an adverb. Got an IUS of a comparative neuter. Gosh, apparently it's been a while since I've used this pen. Then we want to take a look for our verb, which we find all the way here at the end at memento. And that's I'm questioning myself. In my notes, I did not write down the form of this. I prepared this a couple weeks ago, right after getting out of quarantine, and now I don't remember what I thought it was. This verb is one of the verbs that I have trouble with. Is it memento, memini? It's either a first person or it is a imperative. You've got the toe forms of the imperatives. Usually that's a future imperative or just a highly irregular imperative. So we got the Latin phrase memento mori, remember you will die, remember to die. So I think this is the imperative. If I'm wrong and I remember, I'll put a note in and correct that. But imperative, remember, and then what is Demoitas telling Menalcas to remember? Well, remember our accusative ista objecienda, and with this indi here, we know that we have a gerund with a. We know this is going to be neuter accusative plural. So, and you should also recall that usually when this version of the demonstrative shows up, there is a negative connotation to it, and Demoitas is referring back to Menalcas's accusations. I think they were accusations that he's a lazy bum, and now Demoitas is returning the favor, but hitting further below the belt, if you will. Then we got viris here with is. That's going to be a dative, plural, masculine for the word men. And then tamen here means for all that you say. Parcius, that word, it's parvus, small, little. And in this case, smaller, less, perhaps is how I will translate it. Remember, and we would almost say that less, and then with the gerund we got ought, and there less ought those accusations, and this is like the word for casting, be cast at someone. Viris. Why did I say dative? Dative doesn't make any sense because we've got passive action here with that. Ablative has to be what it is for agent by men. So he's saying, don't throw accusations at me because what's about to follow. Sorry about the background noise. That's something I forgot to mention. A new malady has arisen in my apartment. They switched the cool off, and now we're getting heat and machines right over my door, and it likes to gurgle. But let's get back to our work. Novimus, starting our next clause, we have mus there for the first person plural. Nosco, nore, and noscere, novi. So this is the perfect stem, and it is active and an indicative. And it's, we know also qui. So pausing right there as my brain recalibrates. We know also who, but qui here is in the nominative. It's going to be singular, masculine, probably, unless there is a verb. Sorry, I needed a moment to remember what all is going on here, and how rude Demoitos is being to his fellow shepherd. I won't get into specific details, but qui and this et and qui are going to be paired with et quo, so both who and in what, quo referring all the way over here to sakalo, because we've also got the O, and that's going to be an ablative singular neuter. So this is sakelo, sakalum, sakali. I think it's just a normal second. And as I said, this, so, and in what, shrine. So who, and the verb here is unspoken because te through hirquis is a subordinate clause, and then this is an aside. So I'm going to put a comma there. We know who. To translate this, though, we have te as an accusative singular object of transversa. So this is transverso, transversere. And then here with this a, we have got a perfect passive participle. As to why the form, that has to do with the insult, I think. So we've got a nominative singular feminine perfect passive participle. So now Demoitos is calling Menalcas according to a feminine adjective, feminine participle, having turned himself, and then twentibus is, well, we've got our IBUS there, so that's going to be dative or ablative plural, and this is with int, so this is tuo, or no, it's tuet or tuet, according to my notes, so that's a towel, sorry. As you can tell, I'm very prepared for today. Got a whole bunch of papers due. Getting the commie present put me behind. But anyway, so that, except for the Greek tau, I believe is the verb, and it means to gaze at, to view. So having turned yourself for gazing at, for looking at. I'm not really sure why. Oh, no. Of course, here's the problem. I'm misidentifying, not paying attention at all to my notes, which are up there, what hirquis is. So this verb, this word, the nominative form is not an E. Hircus, and then the C turns into a Q, and it becomes a kind of, no, it doesn't become a kind of. This. So the standard form is Hircus, but here, because we're dealing with Vergil, he likes to use variant forms, as we've seen before with, what is it? Quoi, I think we had earlier in Ecloga number 1. So Q replaces C. You've got an extra U in here, and this IS is also dative or ablative. So having turned yourself to these, so these are dative plurals. This one present, active, participle. This one dative plural, masculine, I think. And this one means a he-goat, a buck. And this one, so it's having turned yourself to the gazing on bucks. He's calling Menalcas a woman, saying that he has changed himself into a woman sexually, and that's as far as into that I'm going to go. I'm going to write down the translation, and then we'll get back to our main clause here. So getting back to this final clause of Demoitos' response, we have but, facilis, facile, that one should be fairly familiar with you. In this case, it's going to mean mellow or gentle rather than easy, because it's not having to do with an action. And it's going to be modifying our numphai right there for a nominative plural feminine. So the gentle or mellow nymphs. And then risere Here we have re as our ending. It looks like an infinitive, but in this case, you've got one of those Vergilian variant perfect plural endings. So we've got erunt typically, but the unt has, it's not really elided, but been replaced by an e. So this is rido, ridere, risi, and that's our primary clue for why this is a perfect. Because rido, I laughed, I laugh. But we've got our perfect ending right there. Perfect stem, variant, plural. So there's the end of what he says. I should note, though, that it is possible that this is referring to a woman. So a woman is causing him to do that, probably by rejection, since that's typically what the theme is. The woman rejects, or whoever the lover is rejects. Moving into Menalcas's response, I'm not entirely sure what's going on with it, but I'll do my best. Tum, then credo. Don't need to parse that. It's easy, I believe. And then we have a cum clause here with videre, which is, again, the same perfect form there. So I'm just going to draw this one down here, parse that. Me as our direct object, or although there is a second possibility that the cum indicates not, that this is, in fact, an infinitive, and then me is the subject, which would then be, then I believe, when I saw the arbustum, this is the grove, the copse of trees, and then mikonos here we have Greek omicron sigma genitive ending, so genitive singular masculine, so he's owning them. And then we would have also in ketere as another infinitive with me as the subject, and then mala falke. Am I getting that right? No, because we got novelas, got as right there for accusative plural feminine, and that is modifying vitis, which is another Vergilian ending, es right there for accusative plural. This word means vines, so new vines. And then a falke is a falx, I think it is, F-A-L-X. Falk is for the genitive, and this is a feminine according to my notes, and it's a pruning knife with mala matching the feminine ablative. I should write that down. Singular feminine for not a golden line, but it's an interwoven line. Maybe it's the silver line, that poetic verbiage I am constantly forgetting. But you have A, B, C, B, A for the pattern. So the two different ways, as I was fumbling through right there, that we could read this is him as the direct object of this first verb, and then the new vines as the object of the second verb with an ablative of instrument. Or the other way that we could read it is indirect statement, him as the subject. So then I believe when I saw Menalcas's grove and cut into the new vines with a pruning knife. What he means by this, I don't know. Maybe he's saying that he worked while Demoitas goofed off. I don't know. I think really the indirect statement makes the most sense, because when the nymphs saw me, what's arbustum doing? Could be that arbustum is a genitive with the um right there, but why would arbustum be owning me? That doesn't make any sense. So when they saw me, grove of Menalcas, and they cut. So I don't think, I think my initial judgment that videre is the same as risere is wrong. That's an option, but no. Instead, this is a present, it's got to be a present active infinitive. What he's trying to express, though, you've got me. And then this is a cum with the videre operating as just an indicative, and it would be temporal. Sorry, interrupting myself again. There is a third option. Kind of. Oh, really, it's the first option, making a little bit more sense. Arbustum could be referring to the nymphs because, of course, the nymphs were the spirits of the woods, and you could use the woods to refer to the creatures themselves. And it's just taking a plural verb, even though the noun, I think, is singular. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to double check my lexica, and if arbustum is actually plural somehow, I'll make that correction. And I'm back again. So I checked, I misidentified arbustum, or it's possible that the green and yellow disagrees with Cassell's dictionary. Arbusta is a unusual, one of those unusual us-e feminines. I think the green and yellow claims that this is a neuter. So that um there, if it is in fact a feminine, means it has to be accusative, which means indirect statement, as I argued myself into. If, however, Cassell is wrong, or there's multiple different options, it's like it's used in different ways, depending on the context, then we're still lost. I'm going to go with accusative feminine, singular feminine, and continue with the indirect statement. Okay, so there's the translation. The last thing that we have to look at is Mykonos, Mykon, what his name is. From what I can tell, it is. Oops, I'm starting in the middle of the word there. From the Greek, possibly Mykos, or it could be from Mikros via Mykos, which I think is a later, shorter version of Mikros right there. What all these mean is just little guy, or a variant thereon. So his name means he's short. Hooray. So there's that. I think he may play a larger part later on in the Ecloga, I don't remember. But let's take a look at this in its own context. Remember, literal ought those accusations be cast by men for all that. We know both who, having turned you to gazing bucks, and at which shrine, but the gentle nymphs laughed, at you, presumably. Then, I believe, Menalcas responds, when I saw Mycon's grove and cut into new vines with an evil pruning knife. So what Menalcas might be doing then is saying that Demoitus is claiming this happened, but Menalcas is saying, yeah, sure, when I was doing my work, pruning the vines from the grove. There you have it. I hope they get around to the actual, poetry off. I'm not sure what the term would be, but when they battle each other with words rather than just throw mean insults. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. I hope that this has been helpful for you and very informative, that if you decide to go into post-grad school like I did, that you shouldn't have hobbies or get infected by evil commie things. Farewell, and walleye.